Hey, at least 400 had crossed as we went on air with this programme. We can show you some footage of what was going on in Dover Docks earlier on today. At least 400, another boat of 50-odd on the way. Calm conditions. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the boats didn't come literally all through the night. And we've learned that of the 1,295 that we know about that crossed the channel on Monday, 700 of them were Albanians. This is an invasion. It's the only word I can use. And it isn't just a crisis, it is an emergency. You know, I've been talking to people with links in Albania, and they tell me literally young men are leaving the country in droves. You know why? They're joining the criminal drugs gangs in this country. We are literally, there's no question about whether these people are refugees. They are not. We are literally now directly importing criminality on a huge scale. It is quite astonishing. And I don't understand why we don't just deport all 700 from Monday immediately. Seems to me we're entitled to do so. Well, joining me is Ivan Sampson, immigration lawyer. Now, you know, clearly Albania, we're talking about a NATO member, prospective EU member. Sunday newspaper magazines full of advertisements for Albanian hotels and resorts, and it's a country pretty much at peace, and they're coming here illegally. Why aren't we deporting them?
Well, the biggest problem is identity, because we don't know that they are from Albania. You need identity documents, and you need cooperation from the Albanian government to receive them back. That's the biggest problem. Now, if they claim asylum, we have a duty under the Refugee Convention to consider their applications. So that has to be done as well. So I'm afraid we can't simply just deport them back or remove them.
So how many tens of thousands are going to come in the next few weeks? I mean, what are we going to do, Ivan?
The trend is, over the last 8 years, it's increased by eightfold.
Yes.
So over the next 8 years, I think you could see several thousand a day coming over. Our borders at the moment are determined by the weather. We have no control of the borders. And also, we have no control over who's coming. Background checks of who these people are, whether they've got previous criminal convictions.
But they throw away their ID documents. I mean, I filmed in May. I filmed iPhones and documents being thrown into the English Channel once they crossed our 12-mile line.
I wrote to Rishi Sunak recently and said that nobody should be allowed to step onto British soil without an identity document. Because we don't allow people through the ports. If you haven't got a passport, you can't get in. And there should be offshore processing centres. Because once they touch land, they've got to where they want to get to. But what do we do with them? Do we send them back? What do we do? Do we send them back across the channel?
Well, you've got good connections within the Conservative Party. You know, this is a major crisis. For them, not just for the country, but for them it's a major crisis because, you know, the big promise of Brexit, take back control of our borders. It clearly, you know, you as an immigration lawyer are saying we have effectively no border controls. What is the next Prime Minister going to do?
We need a deal with the French. We need to do some horse trading with the French, find out what they want. We need to have the right person to do that negotiations. Look, before we left the EU, we were returning 70,000 people a year under the Dublin Convention.
Yeah, but we still had to accept an awful lot.
We did. But those who came across, who could have claimed or had claimed before, we were at least returning them to France. In the withdrawal agreement, that should have been negotiated, and something akin to Dublin should have been in there. And that was, no one was doing the thinking at the time.
So
and we missed an opportunity.
I mean, I get the point you're making about we need to do a deal with the French. And I mean, Tony Smith, the former head of Border Force, has sat in that chair and made the same argument. What if the French won't do a deal? Is that when we have to consider a Tony Abbott-style solution?
Possibly, but we need to re-look at the Refugee Convention. If you want to control asylum seekers coming to the UK, we need to re-look at that. Look, it can't be done by us alone. It can't be done by even totally putting a deal with the French. The UNHCR needs to get involved. There needs to be a global solution to this. Look, we've got 18 million refugees in the world. And Afghanistan, 30,000 children without food today. They're going to keep coming. So every country has to take their fair share. The perverse thing is, though, that if we do stop the boat crossings and we take people coming through safe legal routes, it's probably going to increase our annual refugee numbers fivefold.
But that's up to us to make
Yes,
those decisions.
absolutely.
That's up to us to make those
Absolutely.
decisions. And I would suggest that not just ECHR is unsuitable, but actually the UN definition of who a refugee is it's over 70 years old, and maybe these rethinking. But we'll debate that again, Ivan. We absolutely will. A thought for you. In Greece, over the last couple of days, on their border with Turkey, they've been there, the Greek police, the army, they have literally physically repelled and pushed back 1,500 people trying to get into Greece. They've been using similar tactics at sea, going out literally, pushing boats round and saying, you're not coming here. How is it that Greece can defend its borders and the United Kingdom can't?
Well, they're not complying with their international treaty obligations. First of all, they have a duty under the UN Convention on the Laws of the Sea, UNCLOS, to rescue people at sea. They can choose to ignore it because it's politically...
And that's what they're doing.
And that's what they're doing. And also not accepting refugee applications. That's a breach of the Refugee Convention. I mean, the European Court of Human Rights on the 7th of July did an expose where they criticised Greece for doing that. Now, do we do that? That's the question.
Well, I never thought I'd advocate becoming like the Greeks, but at least they're standing up and defending their borders. Look, what I'd like to do, I'm not for breaking international treaties, I'm not for breaking international rules that we've agreed to, I'm all for changing them, and I think that's where I am on this. And
I agree with you. The Refugee Convention was set up for political asylum.
Yes.
So people who are seeking refuge being persecuted by their government.
Yes.
I'm afraid it's changed now to armed conflict, civil conflict, and that's not the purpose of the Refugee Convention.
And even poverty by some people's definition, which is billions of people.
And that's not the purpose why we signed up to it. I agree
Ivan Sampson, we always have a fascinating conversation.